Hello and welcome. Dr. Andy Rosenfarb here. We're going to continue our conversation today about cell stress, okay? So as a review, for those of you guys who hadn't had an opportunity to watch our previous video, the introduction to cell stress, we're going to review that real quick before we get into it. So again, cell stress is a factor that can affect your vision. It absolutely can accelerate progressive vision loss, could even cause acute episodes or be a major factor in the onset of a lot of these conditions. So real quick, what is cell stress? So to reiterate, cell stress refers to a state in which the cells experience harsh conditions that disrupt their normal ability to function, also to repair and regenerate. These cells are highly sensitive to changes in their environment, and when they're exposed to these stress factors, it can activate specific cellular response mechanisms, which is a way that these cells actually cope with the stress and adapt to changes, right? So part of a stress coping mechanism is an adaptation to certain types of stress in a challenging environmental condition. So cell stress can arise from various sources. We talked about the physical, chemical, biological factors. A lot of the ones we mentioned last time include things like oxidative stress, inflammation. We talked a little bit about endoplasmic reticulum stress, which may be a new one for a lot of you guys. Nutritional stress, either not enough healthy foods or too much junk food or garbage food. Also DNA damage and genotoxic stress. So stress on the genetics, right? The gene sequencing. Also hypoxic stress, lack of oxygen, mechanical stresses, and then chemical stresses. So those are the main ones we talked about. Now today we want to talk really about how it affects your vision, okay? Because that's what we're really interested in. So cell stress, again, is more of similar to inflammation in the regard that it's always caused by something. It's not its own issue, but it's, again, worth having the conversation because there are all these factors that we've just talked about that will disrupt the cell's homeostasis, their balance and ability to function. Again, photoreceptors picking up light signals, sending it to the brain through the optic nerve and the brain for interpretation. This whole visual process or the whole visual system needs to function in a stress-free environment as much as we do. So the cell stress can play a significant role in progressive vision loss, especially in conditions like RP, macular degeneration, glaucoma, diabetic retinopathy, so on and so forth. These conditions often involve damage to the cells within the retina and the optic nerve, and essentially the whole visual system, leading to gradual decline of vision loss or accelerated. It can be gradual or it can be more acute, accelerated type of vision loss. So here's some specific ways I want to talk about now how cell stress can impact vision and accelerate vision loss. So the first area I want to talk about is the retinal cells, right? Retinal cells we know are made of rods and cones. These are photoreceptors. The cone cells are concentrated in the macula, as a reminder, and those are responsible for our sharp vision, our color vision, our very HD vision, if you will, our very, very sharp vision, our ability to facial recognition, to see faces, to read, and all the things that we need for very, very acute, our visual acuity. So the cone cells, of course, work more with our contrast, our grayscale, and our peripheral vision. So those are important for those factors. So together, these photoreceptors, these rods and the cones, they work to receive light, transmit them to the brain via the optic nerve, and cell stress can really impact the retinal cells, particularly the RPE, retinal pigment epithelium. That becomes stressed due to factors, again, like oxidative stress, inflammation, accumulation of waste products like drusen, pigmentation, also things like fluid wastes or lack of fluid drainage and things like glaucoma, which we're going to get into next. So the stress can lead to the retinal pigment epithelium, an accelerated breakdown and dysfunction, ultimately death of these photoreceptors, resulting in loss in the areas where you'll have the photoreceptors again. So if it's the macula and you're going to have cone dystrophy and cone degeneration, you're going to develop things like macular degeneration, pattern dystrophy, macular holes, macular puckers, Stargardts, so on and so forth. If the cell stress is affecting more of the rod cells, you're going to have more situations like peripheral vision loss, contrast issues, grayscale issues, is seen more in diabetic retinopathy, is seen in Usher's, is seen in retinitis pigmentosa, rod cone dystrophy, things like that. So again, cell stress can definitely affect the retinal cells overall, but it's important, we're going to talk a little bit about later, to really understand what's driving or what form of cell stress is occurring, and we need to manage that. So the next area we want to talk about is the optic nerve, all right? How cell stress can really impact the optic nerve. And for those cases, we're talking primarily about optic neuritis, of course, glaucoma, optic nerve atrophy, with glaucoma, both open angle and normal tension glaucoma, which ultimately really affect the ganglion cells. That's what we're talking about when we talk about the optic nerve. A real focus here is protecting the ganglion cells. And the microglial cells for sure. So certain eye conditions result in damage to the optic nerve, okay? The optic nerve transmits, as a reminder, the optic nerve transmits visual information to the retina and to the brain. So it's basically this connector. The optic nerve is a connector that connects the eyes and brain together. It also, pressure is a factor, we know, with glaucoma. And one of the things that happens with glaucoma is the pressure sometimes can get out of control, and that can put a lot of stress. Again, that's a stress cell stress factor that can put stress on the optic nerve and cause progressive vision loss. So the stress on these cells, the optic nerve cells, can result in what's called apoptosis, which is programmed cell death, leading to progressive peripheral vision loss, potentially blindness if not taken care of. So usually that's how things with optic nerve conditions will start off. Classically, they'll start off with peripheral vision loss, where you're not necessarily aware of your far visual fields kind of coming in. But sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes we have the segments or the nerve fibers of the optic nerve that connect to the macula or the central vision. So right off the bat, we can have not classic peripheral visual field loss, but you can have some central vision loss, or maybe it's a lower field, or your inner central visions, or your upper lateral visual fields loss. So it can really show up in any part of the eye, depending on which nerve fibers of the optic nerve are affected. So again, this apoptosis will occur. And again, for both retinal and optic nerve health, we want to manage, right? The idea here is to manage and reduce the stress on the optic nerve. So certainly supplements will help mitigate that. Hyperbaric, the alternating current stimulation, transorbital ACS 3000, ophthalmic acupuncture can help strengthen the retinal optic nerve and the ganglion cells to prevent accelerated vision loss. Now, beyond those, there are three more factors we want to talk about. Those are more about the structures. Okay, next we're going to go back into our conversation that we've been going over so intensively over the last couple months, is oxidative stress. Oxidative stress, we know, is one of the single most important factors in progressive vision loss. Right? Oxidative stress occurs when there's an imbalance between reactive oxygen species, free radicals, and the body's ability to neutralize them with antioxidants, either coming from within or through supplementation. Oxidative stress can seriously damage cellular components of the eye, including the proteins, lipids, and all the way down to the DNA. So it's very, very destructive. In the context of the eye, oxidative stress can affect various retinal cells, leading to dysfunction and ultimately cell death, right? We go from normal cells to dormant cells to damaged cells to really sick dysfunctional cells to dead. So it can come on slow, progressive, or very fast that way. So again, we're going to use supplements, antioxidants, to help combat the oxidative stress and deal with lifestyle factors that can accelerate oxidative stress. For example, We use blue light protection when we're looking at screen because blue light can be very damaging to our eyes, to our retinal cells, specifically the cone cells. When we're outside, we want to use UV protected eyewear, right? Wraparound sunglasses to protect our eyes from UV radiation, which can be very oxidizing. We also want to watch the food. A lot of junk food, sugary foods, processed foods are very oxidizing to our body. Pollution, medications, stress for sure, things like smoking, stimulants, alcohol, nicotine, drugs, pharmaceutical, and recreational are very oxidizing to the body. So we want to really look at these factors in terms of a lifestyle and figure out what can we do to help reduce the oxidating factors that are within and about our lifestyle. So of course, supplements will be very beneficial. The main ones I usually talk about are things like glutathione, NAC, molecular hydrogen, and of course carotenoid antioxidants, which will help protect the eyes against UV radiation and more so blue light. So that's the oxidative stress conversation. Again, if you want a very deep dive on that, we have a lot of videos available to you guys. I highly recommend you guys educate yourselves more about oxidative stress. It's a lesser known conversation that ophthalmologists, retinal specialists, and glaucoma specialists are having with patients, primarily because they don't know too much about it. It's not something that's really gone over much in med school. And also there's no drug. There's no medicine or drug or procedure that can really help. It's more of a lifestyle and nutrition approach to helping manage oxidative stress. So the next factor is a subject matter we've talked a lot about as well as a stress factor and how it can affect the eyes is inflammation and also immune response. All right, these are two factors really, really important. So chronic inflammation in the eye can result from various factors, right? We know inflammation, like cell stress, is an effect of other epigenetic, sometimes genetic, but mostly epigenetic factors, environmental factors from the external environment as well as your internal environment. So the immune system dysregulation can also be a factor, and often is a factor with inflammatory processes, whether it's a hyperactive immune system, like that results in allergies or autoimmune, or a hypoactive immune system, where you can get things like toxic accumulation, cancer, things like these. So the immune system can also result in the presence of foreign invaders, right? Viruses, bacteria, microbes, fungus, certain infections that can affect our vision, right? There's things like ocular Lyme that can affect our vision. Herpes virus can affect our vision, Epstein-Barr, certainly COVID. We've seen an explosion in eye conditions, both onset and accelerated as a result of COVID. So we know that microbial infections can be pro-inflammatory in that regard and definitely impact vision. So inflammatory responses can lead to release of cytokines, all right, you guys might be familiar with that term, which are pro-inflammatory, and other molecules that contribute to cell stress and ultimately cell death of the all structures of the eye, not only the retina and the photoreceptors, but the vascular system, the optic nerve in the brain, all the structures that basically comprise of the entire visual system. So inflammation, of course, we want to look at lifestyle factors and source where the inflammation is coming from, but we certainly can use lifestyle modification as well as looking at food sensitivities that we're allergic to, taking supplements like Canavision, right? Canavision, shameless self-promotion. With CBD is really, really powerful anti-inflammatory. Turmeric, omega-3 DHAs, certainly molecular hydrogen, although it's an antioxidant, it's also a very effective anti-inflammatory because oxidative stress and inflammation often go hand in hand. So remember, always source the inflammation. We can use these holistic anti-inflammatories, but we really want to source it. So again, you're a practitioner or functional medicine practitioner, acupuncturist, naturopath, whatever, can help you source that. The last thing I want to talk about is something we talked about in our last discussion of cell stress, which also may be new and very, very relevant to retinitis pigmentosa in that family and more of the autoimmune conditions. So this is called the fifth conversation here, or the fifth factor, is the protein misfolding and accumulation. All right, again, so what happens here is the proteins misfolding is a cellular phenomenon where proteins do not fold in their proper three-dimensional structures, right? They're supposed to fold properly. It's almost like, remember like the old pegs that used to fit in the round, the square, the star, and stuff like that? We had that for our kids, and it was this game where you kind of fit these in. So that's kind of how the proteins work. They're supposed to fold and fit nicely. Sometimes they don't really fold into these three-dimensional structures, leading to functional impairment. So this misfolding of proteins can build up and accumulate within the cells, causing stress and interfering again with the normal cellular process. So again, this is especially relevant and can be seen in conditions particularly that are genetic, right? Like retinitis pigmentosa, Usher's, RP, Stargardt's, even things like normal tension glaucoma, optic neuritis, where we have this protein misfolding and buildup. So it's again another dysfunction where we have a buildup of waste in the body. In this case, it was supposed to be used, but it wasn't. They didn't do their folding, so now they're kind of like a waste, and they're taking up space and causing endogenous cellular waste and toxicity. So they build up, they accumulate within the cells, causing stress, interfering with the cell process, and just making the cells dysfunctional. So those are the main factors that really, when we talk about cell stress, how it affects the vision. So we're always actively continuing to investigate ways to mitigate cell stress and improve reduce this accelerated vision loss for our patients. So again, strategies include things like developing more antioxidant therapies, like we've recently dove into the molecular hydrogen conversation, really going to pick up a lot of slack. And again, these antioxidant treatment modalities are not all of it, but is really big piece of the puzzle. And it's going to help a lot of you guys dramatically slow down your progressive vision loss, even halt it, and possibly even recover some vision. So also anti-inflammatory therapies and improving circulation to the eyes. Remember, those are our three big factors. So inflammation, oxidative stress, improving blood flow to the eyes, also ultimately getting all these stress factors off the cells. So how do we get rid of ocular cell stress, right? What's the plan there? Well, as you might imagine, it's through the treatments that we offer. So the first thing that I do as a practitioner is we have to source the cell stress, right? Where is it coming from? Just like inflammation, oxidative stress. What is the big main factor specific to you, right? Because we're all different. Like some people smoke, some people are on meds, some people use recreational drugs, some people drink a lot of soda, some people eat a lot of fried foods, some people have poor liver detox pathways, other people have gut dysbiosis, some people have chemical exposure toxicity. So all these factors can cause oxidative stress and ultimately cell stress. So what do we have to look at? We have to look at all these factors that are driving inflammation, poor circulation, and oxidative stress. Then we have to manage it, right? Once we identify, we say, okay, well, in this individual, your case, what is going on? What are the factors that are really driving your condition? And then what can we do to manage that and reduce the cell stress for your specific situation? Then ultimately, of course, we're working on your eyes, right? You're in here, whatever eye condition you're dealing with, whether you're doing a remote treatment through your at-home treatments or you're a patient in our clinic, we're looking at your eyes. We want to help, again, preserve your vision and try to improve vision if we can. But of course, we want to deal with the underlying cause. And in Chinese medicine, we call that root and branch treatment, where we want to treat the root or the root cause, right? That's why I call it root treatment, and deal with these underlying factors that are driving the cell stress. And then we also want to deal with the branch, the symptoms, which of course is your vision or the organs or your eyes associated with that, or the whole visual system. So we look, again, through holistic ophthalmology, we look at this situation through a holistic scope or under a holistic frame, where we're looking at not only your eyes, but your body as it relates to your vision, whatever's going on with you, and do our best to manage those factors. Again, we could do things like ACS or or acupuncture just around your eyes. And early on, that's what I was doing. But what we found is the results weren't lasting. And why weren't they lasting? Because we didn't deal with the underlying factors. We didn't deal with nutrition. And that's when I jumped rapidly into naturopathic medicine and functional medicine, because we really had to go deeper inside the organs, all the hormones, the glands, the glandular systems, things like blood sugar. We have to look at everything. So really take this very big systemic holistic approach. And then ultimately we create a maintenance program based on your specific stress factors that are going on, that are driving the stress, ultimately to save your sight. So if you're interested in learning more about this regarding our in-office or at-home programs, which are designed to help eliminate cell stress for better vision. Again, if you're watching this in our Facebook group or you got an email, feel free to join, or on our YouTube page. We have these videos posted in a lot of different areas. You can join our Facebook group, you subscribe to our YouTube page, or join our mailing list, because these emails always will get sent out to you that way. And if you know somebody who might be interested, please feel free to share that information. And if you have specific questions for yourself and or somebody you care about and love, and you're not really comfortable posting them online, feel free to call our office or email me. We're happy to have a conversation. Again, we don't accept all patients. There's every week we have patients who call that I don't accept because I don't believe I could help them. So we're very selective with our patient selection process in terms of who I believe I can help and who we can't. But if you're interested in finding out more about our programs and what we have that could be available to you, please feel free to reach out to us. There's so much that can be done, even though a lot of you guys are working with conventional retinal specialists, glaucoma specialists, and ophthalmologists who say there's nothing that can be done in terms of a surgical procedure or a medicine. We know that there's a lot that can be done outside of that realm of drugs and surgery. So again, I'm Dr. Andy Rosenfarb, and your vision is our mission. So thank you for your time, and we'll see you soon in our next session. Have a great day.